In the summer of 1944, as Allied forces stormed the beaches of Europe, something happened that changed history forever. It wasn't just courage, it wasn't just manpower, it was power on a scale the world had never seen before. It was the sound of American engines roaring across oceans, of factories running day and night, of innovation accelerating faster than any army could march. In those decisive moments, when the fate of freedom hung in the balance, the United States unleashed an industrial and technological force so overwhelming that even hardened German commanders struggled to comprehend it. This was not merely a war of bullets and bombs. It was a war of production lines, laboratories, assembly plants, and bold imagination. And when Americans look back on those days, they don't just see a battlefield, they see proof that when pushed to the edge, their nation rose with unmatched determination. The shockwaves began after the attack on Pearl Harbor. In a single morning, the United States was thrust fully into global war. Yet instead of collapsing under fear, the nation transformed itself almost overnight. Automobile factories that once produced family sedans began rolling out tanks. Typewriter companies manufactured rifles. Household appliance plants shifted to aircraft components. Within months, the American economy was mobilized with such speed that it left observers stunned. By 1943, the United States was producing thousands of aircraft every month, Liberty ships faster than German U-boats could sink them, and tanks in numbers that dwarfed Axis production. Across the Atlantic, German intelligence reports increasingly described American output with disbelief. Commanders who had once relied on blitzkrieg tactics began to realize that speed alone could not defeat a nation capable of replacing entire fleets in record time. The sheer scale of American shipbuilding programs, particularly the Liberty ships constructed in days rather than months, represented a logistical revolution. Each vessel symbolized something deeper than steel and rivets. It symbolized a society unified around purpose. When Allied forces launched the invasion of D-Day on the shores of Normandy, they did so backed by unprecedented coordination of air, sea, and land power. Thousands of landing craft, supported by waves of bombers and fighters, reflected years of relentless preparation. American air superiority, achieved through innovations like long-range escort fighters, ensured that German positions were isolated and weakened before infantry ever touched the sand. For many Americans watching the newsreels in theaters back home, these images became symbols of resilience and capability. The scale of organization alone suggested something extraordinary. This was modern warfare, powered by modern industry. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, the turning point at the Battle of Midway revealed how intelligence and technology could alter destiny. American code breakers deciphered Japanese communications, allowing commanders to anticipate movements with remarkable precision. Aircraft carriers became floating fortresses of innovation. Radar systems improved detection. Naval engineering advanced rapidly. The Pacific Theater demonstrated that the United States was not merely reacting, it was adapting and evolving in real time. Perhaps nowhere was the technological leap more dramatic than in the development of radar and cryptography. The breaking of the German Enigma code through collaboration between Allied mathematicians and engineers gave commanders critical advantages. Industrial laboratories expanded research in electronics, aviation, and communications at unprecedented speed. The war accelerated scientific discovery by years, if not decades. Then came the Manhattan Project, the most ambitious scientific undertaking in history. While its consequences remain debated, its existence alone illustrated the extraordinary mobilization of American scientific talent. Thousands of scientists, engineers, and workers operated in secrecy to develop atomic technology. For German leadership, already stretched thin, the possibility that the United States could harness such power underscored a widening technological gap. Back home, American civilians became part of the war machine. Women entered factories in massive numbers, symbolized by the cultural icon Rosie the Riveter. War bonds funded expansion, rationing ensured equitable distribution of resources. Entire communities reorganized daily life around victory. It was a societal transformation unmatched in scope. Production statistics tell part of the story. Nearly 300,000 aircraft produced during the war, over 80,000 tanks, and millions of rifles. But beyond numbers was momentum. Momentum that convinced Allied soldiers they would not run out of support. German officers increasingly reported frustration with supply shortages and bombing campaigns that crippled infrastructure. The U.S. Army Air Forces conducted strategic bombing missions that targeted factories, rail hubs, and fuel depots. Long-range bombers like the B-17 Flying Fortress symbolized industrial might in the sky. The sustained bombing campaign strained German production capacity and forced constant defensive adjustments. As the war entered its final phase, American forces pushed from the west, while Soviet forces advanced from the east. Germany found itself squeezed between overwhelming armies supported by deep industrial reserves. By 1945, it had become clear that the scale of American production and technological adaptation had reshaped the conflict's trajectory. What began as a desperate response had matured into sustained dominance. For older Americans reflecting on these events, the pride often lies not only in battlefield victories, but in collective achievement. The war years demonstrated how democratic institutions, private industry, scientific communities, and ordinary citizens aligned towards a common goal. The astonishment recorded in German intelligence assessments was not about bravado, it was about realization. The United States had mastered the art of large-scale mobilization. When victory was declared in Europe, the celebration symbolized relief and accomplishment. The war had demanded sacrifice, but it had also revealed a capacity for unity and innovation that reshaped the global balance of power. The legacy extended beyond 1945, influencing aerospace development, computing, nuclear energy, and infrastructure expansion. Looking back across the decades, the narrative remains powerful. World War II was fought on distant shores, but its outcome was shaped in American factories, laboratories, and neighborhoods. The astonishment recorded in German intelligence assessments was not about bravado, it was about realization. The United States had mastered the art of large-scale mobilization.